Before Zeus wielded his thunderbolt, before Poseidon stirred the seas with his trident, before Hades ruled the underworld, the world already existed. A primordial universe, raw and untamed, where only darkness, absolute silence, and formless entities roamed. In that chaos, two forces emerged: Gaia, Mother Earth, and Uranus, the eternal sky. They were not just gods, but ancient principles, earth and sky intertwined, birthing the first life of the cosmos. From their union came children, the mighty Titans, the one-eyed Cyclopes, and the hundred-handed, hundred-eyed Hekatonchires, terrifying primal beings. But the love between Gaia and Uranus was not eternal. When Uranus began to fear the very offspring he had created, he locked them deep within the earth, into the depths of Tartarus, tearing Gaia apart with agony. Thus, a plot began to form. A quiet rebellion whispered within the heart of Earth. And then, one of their children would rise, wielding a sickle, ready to betray his father and overthrow the sky. Are you ready to step into the first uprising of the universe? From the chaotic void, where time had yet to move, where light had no shape, and space was an undefined mass, emerged the first beings. Not born as humans are, but formed as part of the universe's natural order. Among them were two of the greatest powers: Gaia, the Mother Earth, and Uranus, the vast sky. Gaia was the solid foundation, the nourishing land for all life. Uranus was the eternal sky, arching above the world like an unreachable dome. When these two forces united, a miracle happened. Life began. From their love and union, they gave birth to the first children, the Titans, colossal, powerful entities, precursors to the gods of the future. But Gaia and Uranus did not stop there. They bore the Cyclopes, strange one-eyed creatures with the power to forge mighty weapons and fortresses. And finally, the Hekatonchires, grotesque beings with 100 hands and 100 eyes, embodiments of uncontrollable, primal force. But from this creation came the first fracture. When Uranus beheld his monstrous offspring, he felt not love, but fear and disgust. He could not bear the world to witness these creatures, so he forced them into the depths of Gaia, into the cold, dark abyss of Tartarus. Gaia, as a mother, bore a pain beyond words. Not a physical pain, but a heart shattered by the sight of her children buried in darkness, rejected simply for being unlike their father's expectations. Uranus, once a symbol of life, became a symbol of tyranny and absolute control. And in the shadows writhing with anguish, Gaia began to nurture an idea. No, a plan of rebellion, a revolt not only to free her children, but to shatter the sky's oppressive grip. But who would be brave enough to make it real? The answer lay in a young Titan, one who dared betray his father, thirsted for power, and ignited the first war in the history of the cosmos: Cronus. Deep within the earth, where no light could reach, Gaia, Mother Earth, groaned daily in anguish at her husband's betrayal. She was crushed not only by the weight of Uranus pressing upon her each night, but also by the torment of her imprisoned children, Cyclopes and Hekatonchires, doomed never to see the light. Gaia was the mother of all life, but also the most ancient primal force. And in that darkness, she swallowed her rage and forged a plan, a great revenge against the sky. She could not act alone. To overthrow a being like Uranus, she needed a hand, someone with both strength and courage. So, Gaia sought out the Titans, her mightiest children, and whispered to each, "Will you rise? Will you defend your brothers? Will you reclaim freedom and end your father's tyrannical rule?" But fear of Uranus ran deep. All trembled, all turned away, all but one stepped from the shadows: Cronus, the youngest of Gaia's children, cunning, cold, and ambitious. Cronus was untouched by fear. In his mother's plan, he saw not just justice, but opportunity, a chance to become the ruler himself. Gaia, recognizing the fire in his eyes, forged him a massive sickle of adamantine, sharp, unbreakable. Then came the fateful night. As always, Uranus descended to cover Gaia, to possess and dominate. But he had no idea that this night, Earth was no longer submissive, but rebellious, with a child waiting in the dark. As Uranus lowered himself, Cronus leapt like lightning. With the sickle in hand, he struck a brutal blow, severing the life force of Uranus, the source of his divine power. The blood of Uranus sprayed across the sky, fell upon the earth and the sea. From those divine drops, new beings were born. The Erinyes, goddesses of vengeance, born of punishment, the Gigantes, giants, born of pain and fury, and from the sea, foam mingled with blood, a creature of stunning beauty began to take shape. But that is another tale, one of a goddess named Aphrodite. Wounded beyond repair, Uranus let out a roar that echoed through the heavens, withdrew, and vanished into the distant cosmos, never to return. But before disappearing, he cast one final curse upon his betrayer. You, Cronus, the one who raised his hand against his father, shall also be overthrown by your own child, just as you shamed me. Cronus paid no heed. He stood tall, blood-stained sickle in hand, claiming the ultimate power of the sky. Uranus had fallen. The age of the Titans had begun, and at its helm stood Cronus, the new king of the universe. But that curse was not just the lament of a fallen god. It was the first prophecy, the beginning of a cycle of fate no Titan or god could escape. Cronus did not yet know that one day he too would fall at the hands of his son Zeus in a war far more brutal. After Uranus, the sky, was overthrown by his own son, the cosmos seemed to shed its old skin. No longer suffocated. Under the sky's oppression, Gaia could breathe. The Titans emerged into the light. And Cronus, proud and unchallenged, ascended the throne, the new ruler of the universe. Thus began a new era, the Age of the Titans. With Cronus as supreme king, his Titan siblings took up roles of power and order. It seemed the cosmos had found stability. Glory appeared to be forever in Cronus's grasp, but power always casts a shadow, the fear of betrayal. Cronus, the one who betrayed his father, understood better than anyone that history could repeat itself. He clearly remembered Uranus's curse before disappearing into the distant realms. You too will be overthrown by your own child, as you did. To me. These words echoed in Cronus's mind like a voice from the depths of the earth. Even at the height of his power, he could not rest easy, and it was this fear that began to distort the soul of the Titan king. When Cronus married Rhea, a beautiful and powerful Titan, Gaia had hoped that their union would bring a bright future for the world. But Cronus, now filled with doubt and obsession, could not love fully, nor could he be a father without trembling in fear. Rhea gave birth to their children, the first gods of the next generation, but every time a child cried at birth, Cronus did not hear joy, only the echo of the curse. And so he swallowed each child as soon as they were born. Hestia swallowed, Demeter swallowed, Hera swallowed, Hades swallowed, Poseidon also met the same fate. Each time Rhea gave birth, she screamed in despair, pleading with Cronus to spare their child. But he remained unmoved. In his heart, only his own survival mattered, even if it came at the cost of his children's lives. Gaia, no longer the passive mother she once was, felt the darkness returning to engulf the world, not from Uranus, but from the very one she had placed her hopes in, Cronus. In despair, Rhea turned to Gaia. Two mothers, one who had rebelled against her husband, the other losing her children, came together to devise a final plan. When Rhea was pregnant with their sixth child, she secretly gave birth in a cave deep within Mount Ida on the island of Crete, and tricked Cronus by wrapping a stone in swaddling clothes and handing it to him. Cronus, consumed by obsession, did not recognize the trick. He swallowed the stone just as he had done with his previous children, believing that his fate was secured. But the child who was hidden, the child born in secret, was none other than Zeus, the one who would later change the fate of the entire universe. While Cronus continued to rule, believing everything had been determined, Zeus grew in secret, raised by nymphs, wild animals, and the milk of the divine goat Amalthea. He grew strong, wise, and carried the anger of a child rejected by his father. At that moment, the universe was like a pressure cooker sealed tight, outwardly peaceful, but inside there smoldered the rage, vengeance, and destiny yet to be fulfilled. Cronus may have severed the sky, but he could not sever fate. He had become a mirror of his own father, tyrannical, fearful, and caught in a cycle of power and betrayal. A Titan dynasty that began with rebellion was now threatened by the very flesh and blood of its own line. A curse had been sown, and now it was silently beginning to bear fruit. The story is not over yet, for Zeus, the child once hidden, would soon return. And when he faced Cronus, a legendary war would break out, heralding a new era, the era of the gods on Mount Olympus. The world, seemingly at peace under Cronus's rule, was in fact only the calm before the storm of fate. Hidden deep in a cave on the island of Crete, Zeus, the sixth child abandoned by his father, grew quietly. Unlike his siblings who were swallowed into darkness, Zeus was nurtured by the divine and nature, inheriting the essence of the earth and sky, carrying the flame of rebellion, justice, and destiny. As time passed, Zeus was no longer a child. He became a young god, strong, sharp, and wise, with a burning desire to restore the justice suffocated by his own father, Cronus. Guided by Gaia and advised by the goddess Metis, Zeus began preparing for his mission to overthrow the Titan regime. But to defeat Cronus, he could not act alone. The first step was to rescue his siblings who were imprisoned in their father's belly. With Metis's help, Zeus used a magical potion to make Cronus vomit up all the gods he had swallowed: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. These, children of Cronus, once weak beings threatened by their father, were now powerful gods, eager to overthrow the one who had rejected their very blood. The Great Titanomachy War officially erupted, a 10-year battle, where the Titans led by Cronus faced the young gods of the new generation of Olympus, led by Zeus. This war was not just a battle between father and son, but the collision of two eras, between the primal, brutal strength of the Titans and the Meno, rising divine intellect. Cronus had the ancient Titans, possessing the power from the dawn of creation. Zeus had his siblings, gods with new abilities, Hades with the power of darkness, Poseidon controlling the oceans, Hera, the symbol of authority, Demeter linked to the harvest, and Hestia, the flame of the sacred fire. Yet, the balance still tilted toward the Titans until Zeus freed his father's old allies, the Cyclopes, and the Hecatoncheires. The Cyclopes, one-eyed blacksmiths, gave Zeus the thunderbolt, an unparalleled weapon of power. Poseidon was given the trident to control the seas. Hades received the helmet of invisibility, allowing him to vanish in any battle. With these new powers, the generation of gods rose fiercely. The sky rumbled, the earth shook, mountains collapsed, and the sea howled, as the earth itself seemed to tear apart. In the end, with a thunderous strike, Zeus defeated Cronus, bringing an end to the age of the Titans. Cronus and the rebellious Titans were bound in eternal chains and imprisoned in the deepest depths of Tartarus, where no light could ever reach. This victory was not just a shift of power, but the beginning of a new era, the era of the gods on Mount Olympus. Zeus ascended the throne, not like his father. He did not swallow his children, nor did he rule with fear, but established a new order where nature, humanity, and the gods existed in balance. Together with Hera, Poseidon, and Hades, they divided the world. Zeus ruled the sky and thunder. Poseidon governed the oceans. Hades held power over the underworld, the realm of the dead. Olympus became the new center of power, where the gods gathered and where new stories would continue to be written. But has Uranus's curse truly ended? Or is fate merely sleeping for now? For within every ruler, there is a seed of ambition, fear, and the specter of rebellion. The history of the gods does not end here. It has only just begun.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. If you found the video helpful and interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. Wishing you a wonderful day, and see you in the next video.